Hi, quick disclaimer before we start. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. We're just two idiots sharing our own opinions. With that in mind, please enjoy the first episode of The Alien and the Jester. Are we using our real names? I didn't even think about that.
Alright. Fuck you, abs.
And that's our show. We got the awkward thing out of the way. I don't really have the name of this thing yet. I think it will come along at some point. I plan to make a logo as well, John.
Yeah.
I have an idea about that, but I'll run that through you after everything is done. But let's start with, how are you doing?
Yo, the thing about that is I don't even think we necessarily need like a logo or like it's not as important. I think the most important thing is like the content, right? Like I feel like there are podcasts out there that are like so professional, they're like so refined, and they have all like the bells and whistles, but there's nothing of like substance being said. Like the opinions and like the topics, it's not like what people want to hear. So it doesn't even matter that it has all the production quality.
Okay.
So I feel like as long as we have, and I think we will, because we'll talk about like controversial or interesting things, and we'll like talk from the heart, you know.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's gonna be way more important.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk to you.
Yeah, this is it's going to be interesting. I think finding the direction of this podcast is going to be half the fun and probably half the work. Like you said, sharing opinions is, it's interesting. I kind of foresaw this thing to be aimless conversations. We may talk about serious stuff, but I never thought of it as, oh, this is a political podcast, or this is a historical, or an anime. I was thinking of, well, we're going to talk about everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that idea. I
Yeah.
feel like that's basically, I feel like that's good because we have a variety of opinions on all sorts of things. So we don't need an agenda.
Okay.
But like, yeah, we could clickbait people though, like
talking about Elon Musk.
Right, exactly.
Actually, speaking of, you know what? Let's jump to the first topic. Before we do that, why don't we introduce ourselves a little bit? We've been friends for a long time. We've been talking about starting something like this for a similar long time. I'm Abs. This is John.
I'm Joe.
Oh, Joe, John. He goes by any J name, and that's really it. You know what? Let's go with the clickbait topic: cryptocurrency and Elon Musk. This is being recorded, if this is probably gonna come out like 5 months later, and people are gonna listen to this like 3-4 years later when, John, you become a millionaire. This is being recorded 2021 May 19th. So crypto just bombed today. Bitcoin is in the trash. Doge is in the trash. Now you have very interesting opinion about Bitcoin. Do you think it's going to recover from this? And before you answer that, please go on about your conspiracy behind it.
First of all, it's not a conspiracy. Okay, let me clarify a few things.
Okay.
So, to all of our listeners, not even like a few months ago, I was extremely bullish on Bitcoin. When people asked me for price targets, asking if it was possible for Bitcoin to be like 400, 500K, and these are like insane numbers, right?
Yeah.
I actually like thought it was possible. Like I was very, very bullish. What I see right now happening is, yes, crypto is on a downturn, but I feel like for Bitcoin, it is like the beginning of the end.
Okay.
And I'm shocked when I see people who don't believe it, even with all of like the mounting evidence.
Now, what are you can summarize it, but what are these mountain evidence?
So with Bitcoin, I guess one of the main there are several things, and I can list them out. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of them is Tether,
Mm-hmm, right.
which is a stable coin, which I believe to be highly fraudulent. Number two is Bitcoin's reliance and dependence on China.
Right.
And number three is Bitcoin's energy usage. I would say those are kind of like the three big ones. So for the first one, Tether, you can check this on like CoinMarketCap as well. A lot of Bitcoin's volume is driven by this stablecoin called Tether.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what a stablecoin is essentially a cryptocurrency that is tied to an actual currency, such as the US dollar, in this case, Tether. So, how that works is you want to trade cryptocurrency in your country, but you're not able to do it directly from your currency to Bitcoin, for example. So, what you'll do is you will buy Tether and then you will trade Tether for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, and a lot of Bitcoin's volume is through Tether, by the way. If you look on CoinMarketCap, you can see 55% of Bitcoin's volume is through this stable coin called Tether. And that's fine. The problem is with how Tether is not transparent at all and is also tied to a fraudulent company called Bitfinex.
Right.
Bitfinex has been involved with a lot of fraudulent kind of news, such as like money laundering or gambling, I believe, just black market activities. So I think that's a like a major red flag. And Tether itself, although initially it was supposed to be backed 1 to 1, like one Tether is equal to $1 when it first came out, they have slowly updated their website and kind of their PR to say, oh no, we're not back 1 to 1. We're just backed by 75 cents for every Tether.
Yeah,
And
they had to. They
yes,
got caught with that, right? Because they were saying they were backed 1 to 1, and
right.
then right,
And
right.
they
I
kind of
remember that.
backpedaled. And now, most recently, in the light of the New York Attorney General investigating them,
Right.
like first of all, the New York Attorney General investigating you, I feel like that's already not a good sign. Um, like innocent people usually do not get investigated
Well,
by
well,
New York
that's
Attorney
not. We
General
can't. You
for no
can't say
reason.
that. That's not
Uh,
true. We can't do that. So the New York Attorney General's.
right.
Uh, yeah.
So maybe that's just my opinion, but I don't think innocent people usually get investigated by the New York Attorney General. I feel like there usually is some sort of reason they go after you, like someone complaining, and they actually decided to settle for $18 million, which is kind of a red flag in itself. Like, I don't think innocent people decide to settle
Okay. No,
for
I
eighteen
okay.
point five million
I
dollars.
have to I have to step in. Okay, first of all, settling doesn't prove guilt. One and two, because you're investigated doesn't necessarily. And I overall agree with you actually on all of this, but just because they're investigated doesn't mean there's a lot of people who have been investigated, convicted, and were turned out that they were innocent all along.
True.
So we can't necessarily just take that as evidence. I think everything else you put up is interesting. Anyway, continue.
Okay. Innocent until proven guilty.
Fair
Yes,
enough.
yes.
Yes, yes.
That is true. So yes, they decided to settle after they already tried to hold off the court case for as
Hmm.
long as possible by, I mean, with these kind of like white collar court cases, there's so many ways to try to get around it. Like, oh, New
That's
York
fair.
Attorney
Yeah.
General asked for evidence. Oh, okay, Tether prints out 1 million pages in quote unquote evidence and sends it to the office of the New York Attorney General. And what are you gonna do? Like, imagine the secretary of the New York Attorney General's office. Like you get paid, I don't know, like probably like let's say you get paid 70K a year, and you now have a million pages to go through. Like,
Hmm.
are you going to go through the million pages, or are you just going to take the settlement for $18.5 million? Like, you're probably going to take the quick buck. Like, you don't want to go through all of that evidence. So they settled. But I think the fact that Tether decided to settle and take that opportunity means that there is something going on here. I feel like if they were really perfectly clean, they wouldn't just decide to part with $18.5 million because they're still not scotch free. There are kind of tenants in that settlement where Tether still has to provide, I think, quarterly reports on their financials. And most recently, so right now, what today is May 19th, I think a few days ago, they actually came out with a transparency report, and it was pathetic. Like, it honestly looked like some PowerPoint presentation that a high school, not even high school, like a middle schooler came up with. It was two
Hey,
pie charts.
I did great presentations in middle school, so I don't know what you're talking about.
It was literally two pie charts, and guess what? Initially, Tether said what they were supposed to be 1-to-1 backed, like one Tether
Mm.
is $1, and then they kind of backpedaled and said it was one Tether to 75 cents. And now it comes out that they're actually backed one Tether to 3 cents.
Wow.
Yeah, and everything else kind of comes from what are like, I think, commercial IOUs basically, which I don't even like. I don't even know. There's no transparency into that, honestly. They might as well be like the same kind of what is it, like the subprime? I don't know, the CDs or
Yeah, right,
from the
right,
Big
right.
Short. Like, it's just financial kind of. To me, it's might as well be fabricated. Um,
Wow.
and I think that's really damning. So that's one. So they still need to provide quarterly reports. And another thing is just the sheer amount of volume going through Tether is kind of hard to
Mm.
believe. I think right now it's like, let me just quickly do a spot check for the market cap of Tether. Um,
Yeah, fellas, we do our research here. John is not speaking out of his bum.
Market cap of Tether is $50 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm kind of doubtful that $50 billion of Tether is actually in circulation. So what I think is happening, and what other people think is happening, there are actually a lot of people that are in this boat. Some extremely notable ones that I will get into soon.
Mm.
I doubt that 50 billion tethers are actually in circulation, and I feel that Tether is printing Tether, buying Bitcoin with that printed Tether, basically fake money, and then selling that Bitcoin for real money, US dollars. So by doing so, they're using fake money to buy Bitcoin, right? That
Hmm.
falsely props up the Bitcoin price, but they are able to sell that Bitcoin for
For real
money.
money.
Exactly. So they are, and that is, I guess, the quote unquote conspiracy, which I don't believe is conspiracy, that Tether is falsely propping up the Bitcoin price. And right now, the Bitcoin prices that we see are fake. So some other notable people have also said this. For example, I would say the founder of Ethereum is he is quite trustworthy. I would say, like someone that most people
Hmm.
would probably listen to. He has literally said that Tether is a ticking time bomb. Like, just that alone, I'm kind of shocked that people are able to kind of ignore this and continue buying Bitcoin. But I mean, I can understand. Like, there are tons of people on Twitter, like the crypto community. There are a lot of these,
Of
such
course.
as like influencers. Like, I mean, Anthony whatever,
Hmm.
Pompliano. Like, that guy
Yes.
is like a textbook definition of a snake oil salesman. Like,
We don't want to.
like he is a snake oil salesman. Like, that can be the name of this video. I'm totally fine with that.
I do not, Anthony. I do not share this opinion.
He is a total snake oil salesman. I don't even know what he's selling. His opinions on Tether have like changed throughout the years as well.
Mm,
Like I think initially he was like, "Oh, Tether is really bad," and now he's like, "Oh, Tether is FUD." Like this guy,
mm,
he obviously has a massive stake in Bitcoin. I am surprised that people could even listen to what this guy is saying. Like he's biased. He's totally
hmm.
unobjective, biased opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a point that a lot of people sort of miss, and that's why I'm very wary of taking advice, well, at least investing advice from individuals, because we never know their position unless they outright say their
Yep,
position on certain things. Of course, they're going to be biased one way or another. Me and you are going to be biased if we, depending on our
true.
position. So yeah, that's one thing. It's a very good point. If he is open about owning Bitcoin, he's coming from a he's probably going to be coming from a bullish point because he owns it.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean that what he says is automatically false either.
Yes, that is true. I mean, a broken clock can be right two times a day.
Oh boy.
I
Okay.
agree. Michael Saylor, he's like the CEO of MicroStrategy. Like
Mm.
I feel like that guy has no idea what he's talking about. He's just
Okay.
kind of like lucked into. I wouldn't have said this initially. You probably remember, I was literally telling you
Hmm.
maybe like a few months ago, like I think Bitcoin's a good buy. I think the swing is
Yes.
going for Bitcoin, and it's probably a good time to buy. And that this was,
And I almost bought because of that.
and I think at that time it might have been a good time to buy.
Yeah.
I think at that time it was maybe 40K, and eventually
Hmm.
hit like 60K. So, and right now it's like hovering around 40K, I guess.
Hmm.
So I think that still would have been good, especially because once I kind of learned about Tether and I said that it was a good time to sell, I remember myself like selling my position and it was at like
Hmm.
55 or something. So I think
Hmm.
that was still a sizable amount of profit on those
Of
like buying and
course.
selling points. So anyway, so Michael Saylor, he is I don't know. I've heard that he's like just a crackhead. I'm not sure he really knows like what he's doing. I think he just got lucky with the Bitcoin bet, honestly.
I think I think most people who have gotten, and I think that's basically everyone's reason of looking even into Bitcoin is the FOMO.
Yes.
And it's one thing I don't have investing. I don't know why. I just don't feel FOMO. It's either up or it's down, and it's either an entry point or it's an exit point. That's really how people should think about it. But with Bitcoin, and this is everyone I've talked
Hmm.
to, when we talk about it, it always comes back to, oh my God, we could have been billionaires if we did this.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's great, but that's not the case right
Yep.
now. There are other cryptos that are in Bitcoin's position back
Hmm.
then, and we can talk about those that way. But talking about how anything was 5 years ago is not going to help any strategy, right?
Exactly.
Unless you're learning from it, unless you're looking at supports or and you're looking at resistant lines, yeah, then you have to do some historical researches. But everyone we've talked to, and you can agree on this, all our friends, it's very much FOMO oriented. We missed out on it. We don't want to miss out on the next big Bitcoin
Hmm.
jump. But really, if you want to emulate that, you need to be looking at the other cryptos that hasn't popped off yet, or any other stocks that hasn't popped off yet, because that's how you really make the if you want to have the Bitcoin experience.
So what you just said could probably be like the moral of this whole podcast. Like that
Mm,
kind of lesson is basically what I want to emphasize as well. Like, all
I
right,
agree.
like hot take here. I don't believe in support lines. I don't believe in resistance.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of
Mm-hmm.
that is just terminology that has been created
I agree.
to try to rationalize what is going on in the market.
Absolutely. I don't think people. I think people who read support and resistance lines, I think they would. I think they will agree with you. I think people who really understand what they are will agree with you. And I'm a beginner in all of this. I've been really into this for maybe the last 3 years, and I'm still a beginner. There's so much more to cover. We have friends who know way more than us, and just looking into it. It's all you're tracking human behavior. If we're looking at Bitcoin now, when it broke the 40k psychological point, really it's a human behavior to sell at 40k because it's a nice
Mm-hmm.
number. If it And the fact that people bought in at 30k, same thing. I think it's, oh, I think 30k is low enough, I don't think it's going to go up, and people buy it and it goes back up. It's all human behavior. It's the same thing. It's the same reason why there was a huge sell-off with Doge at around 60, 0.69. um, it's all it's really just tracking human behavior, but it doesn't really mean support and resistance lines are false. But I totally agree with you. They're not they're not just built in. They're taking data that exists, and they're making sort of a trend line, if anything. But it can definitely go away from
Right.
that.
I think the only accurate trend line that you can make is for something like the
Hmm.
S&P 500. I think
Right.
for any other asset, you can try to predict the data all you want. It just won't work. That is my opinion.
Fair enough.
So
I
yeah,
agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah. I feel like there's a lot of trying to like rationalize what is going on, and I think Anthony Pomp, like all these kind of Bitcoin maximalists, they do the same thing, and it's just to calm their followers, I guess, so that they can keep making a buck off their followers. That is,
Oh,
yeah, that
okay.
is what I feel like Bitcoin has become. I
Hmm.
am doubtful of its actual benefits to our society. Although I did not think this
I see.
before, I definitely I changed my mind on this. I don't think it has any use. Like right now, I honestly just see it as a big pyramid scheme where you buy in and you wait for a price to go up so that you can sell it to someone who bought later than you.
I can't speak for, I guess, many Twitter personalities or anyone for that matter, but I know really feel strongly that some of the meme pump and dump, they use the mass to profit. They will hype it up, get it to a high price. They already have positions in whatever stock that they're hyping
Mm-hmm.
up. They'll hype it up, sell at a high point, and they will say, you got to hold the line, blah blah blah, because they don't want you to sell when they're
Of
selling,
course.
which is, I think people do catch on at some point, and there is
I don't
power to the
know. Do
people.
they? Do they, abs? I don't know. They. I don't know if they catch on.
Hmm. I guess I don't have statistics to behind that. So yeah, you could be right. You could be absolutely right. But there is, I mean, what we're seeing with
Yeah.
GameStop is that there is power to the players. No, I'm kidding. There is power to people holding long term, because that is a one once in a while scenario where the people are sort of saying no. That enough people are sort of saying
Mm-hmm.
no, let's hold and let's see what happens, because for the most part there's a mass sell off and it just goes back to whatever the value would be. And I don't think the value of GameStop is where it is at now, but I could also be completely wrong.
Interesting. So I think GameStop is a unique scenario. So
Yeah, I
I
agree with that.
so with GameStop, yeah, holding, and also it's a actual stock. There's an actual business behind it that can make
Mm-hmm.
profit. I think that is just like in a different realm from something like Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin,
I
honestly,
agree.
offers, I would say, zero or even like negative value to society.
Mm-hmm.
There is not, you're not buying anything. You are literally buying air.
Now, I do think that there could be real world positive consequences. I know there are some negative consequences with energy
Hmm.
consumptions
Hmm.
and whatnot. I do think with Bitcoin, because it has gotten a more permanent hold, or at least you can argue it has gotten a more permanent hold. You could use it for transactions. I mean, I believe people have already used Bitcoin, and they have been using Bitcoin for transactions forever. I mean, especially in the dark web, for a long, long time they have been using it, and I think it even now broken through the mainstream. I don't know if it was. Let me double check, but I believe it was Mark Cuban who was accepting crypto.
Yeah, he was accepting Dogecoin.
He was accepting Dogecoin. Yeah, I wanted, yes, Dogecoin, yes. But either way, even if it's not Bitcoin, there could be positive, well, not necessarily positive, neutral effect on the world.
Okay. Let's kind of go off of that. So I
Mm,
agree with that. There is some value from cryptocurrencies in their decentralization.
decentralization, yeah,
However,
that's a huge
yes,
factor.
yes, I have 2 points to that. First is that I am 100%, or maybe 99% sure that the majority of people that are buying Bitcoin are not buying it to use for transactions.
Okay,
They
fair
are
enough. I agree
simply
with you.
buying into the pyramid scheme that Bitcoin is. Number two is that in terms of like being a cryptocurrency and its like values, Bitcoin is actually not even that good. Um, there are other ones, other alternatives that are actually way more improved and better than Bitcoin in terms of like energy usage, transaction speed. There's so many, and if you were to evaluate Bitcoin like a business and other cryptocurrencies like a business, Bitcoin actually kind of sucks. Kind of the only thing going for Bitcoin is just that other people, other big names have bought it, and the price is high right now. But in terms of how much better it is as a cryptocurrency, is actually not that great. So that's kind of my argument against Bitcoin specifically.
hmm I think that's true. I think, and back to the FOMO of buying Bitcoin, when it was in the dirt, there were many other cryptos in similarly in the dirt, and it kind of blew up. And there are many reasons behind it. It was being used, for transactions, and it came to this point. And I think even at 40K, again, there's no backing because it's crypto, but I do feel like it is overvalued at that price, just given everything behind it. But also, what is overvalued when it comes to crypto, right? Isn't the value what you really give it, what the demand is, what the supply is? So
Yes.
it's tough. It's tough to say it's overvalued. It's tough to say there's nothing there. It's fake. Money, for the most part, is not physical. You pay with credit. You pay off the credit with credit. When you get paid for by a paycheck, goes to your bank, it is actually credit. You use that credit to pay off other credits. So money itself is, quote unquote, in the thin air. I All I can say is cryptocurrency can have a more solid use in the future. I don't know. We definitely not. I don't know. I know we don't have the infrastructure now to really work with
Hmm.
it. But if you're in New York City, the subways and all the buses have now implemented the Omni system, where you don't need a Metro
Uh huh.
card. And I thought that was not gonna be possible in my lifetime. The way everything is so crap for the MTA, and they really rolled it
Yep.
out in every bus, every train. You do not need a Metro
Hmm.
card, which is crazy to me. And they put in the infrastructure, they implemented it, they rolled it out, and it was a pretty quick turnaround. So in the future we could have built-in chips in our hands. Speaking of, we got, I got vaccinated, John. Um,
Oh,
shout out Bill Gates. Um, but
oh yeah, we could
anyway,
talk about Bill Gates
I
too. I have
digress.
some juicy stuff
Yeah,
on him.
yeah. Just one digression. In my work, one of my clients was saying, it's really interesting that he got divorced after the vaccine started rolling out. I thought that was interesting. Makes you think,
Yeah,
but either
I
way,
bet he believes in support lines and resistance.
oh, come on. Okay, well, let's summarize this part by let me ask you. Okay, so you're pretty bearish on Bitcoin. At the end of this year, 2020, it's Christmas. It's Christmas 2021. What do you see? Where do you see Bitcoin? You don't have to give a number. Where do you see it?
Hmm. So this one is tough because even with the Tether stuff, right? Like things
Hmm.
happen slow, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like there is always going to be kind of a lag to what happens and then the effects of it. It's kind of like the
Hmm.
aftershock. So with Tether, like I think I don't know if it's going to implode like this year, but with
Hmm.
the way things are going right now, like China just kind of started clamping down on
Right.
cryptos, and that is
Hmm.
huge.
That was
This
huge.
is I would say it's like I would call it damning, actually.
Hmm. John, could you give maybe a two-sentence
Yep.
summary if people didn't
Yeah.
know?
So recently, I think even like a day or two
Yeah,
ago,
like a day ago. Yeah.
China basically publicly said that they were not going to accept cryptocurrency transactions. Like that was their stance
Hmm.
on cryptocurrency. So you could still, if you're an individual in China, you can still hold your cryptocurrency, but you cannot transact with it. And I believe that this is because China wants to move towards their own digital currency, the
Right.
digital yuan.
Right.
Um, this
Digital
is
yuan. Yes.
very beneficial for their government because this allows them to basically track every single one of your transactions using your yuan. You cannot spend a yuan without the government, Xi Jinping, knowing about it. Like
Hey, 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 hey.
he will know everything you do. So they want to move towards that.
There will be a cut. There will be an abrupt cut there.
uh, I don't know why. I feel like I'm surprised they let Bitcoin kind of go so long, actually, and they took their time doing this. But like this is how things work. Like it's just a natural lag of things, right?
Right.
Like decisions
Right.
aren't made immediately. These are huge institutions that are trying to make decisions. Like I think India is also starting to regulate the cryptocurrency space as well.
Hmm.
And that's basically what half the world, maybe even more. India and China,
Yeah, I would say
yeah,
more.
um,
Yeah, most of the world, because they don't like the idea of a decentralized anything.
yeah,
The government will want to step in and essentially control
right,
it. Yeah.
exactly. So I feel like that is pretty damning. Like if a person is coming into
Right.
this space and they are actually being objective, they have not been influenced by the Bitcoin maximalists and the Twitter communities at large. Like they are trying to make their own opinion and they actually look at the facts in front of them. I feel like it's hard to make a case for Bitcoin. Like if you're really thinking about it, I feel like if you're still making a case for Bitcoin, you are in sort of like a denial because you really want
Mm.
Bitcoin to continue going back up. So I feel like I'm surprised that China took so long. I almost feel as if because China knew that Bitcoin was kind of a good way to weaken America actually, and kind of we get into like kind of world politics here. 70% of Bitcoin mining is done in China. I
Hmm.
believe in
Right.
Xinjiang, they have huge warehouses there where they just mine the
Yep.
out of Bitcoin. And this is very advantageous for China actually because this allows them to basically take a lot of wealth from other countries, especially America. And the way this works is you have so much mining of Bitcoin in China people in America are buying that Bitcoin. So US dollars are flowing into China in exchange for Bitcoin. And this is very profitable because it costs less to mine a Bitcoin than to sell a Bitcoin. There's profit from doing so. So by doing this, there's
Hmm.
actually a lot of wealth wealth flowing outside of America into China. So this is an advantageous position for China. And I think this may be one of the reasons why they took so long to clamp down on crypto. But now this is kind of like the moment. I don't know. Like the difference between China and America, I feel like in America, our bureaucrats are kind of old and not very technologically aware. In China, it is completely different. They elect based on. I don't know if I would say elect. I don't think they do that there, but their government is made up of extremely technologically aware politicians, and the way they see
Hmm.
the world is very different from the way our politicians do. Like, I would be surprised if our politicians actually understood like cybersecurity themselves, but it's not the same
I
in China.
I totally agree with you. I think it's the burden of being on top for too long.
Oh
And
yes.
another thing that is advantageous for China, something that I don't think is good for the world, but it is advantageous, is that the government has more control versus a Western country like the
Yep.
US. There are things that you can get done much quicker. You don't have to go through the bureaucracy,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more power to implement set things. And in America, currently there is so much infighting going on, and the government just doesn't have the enough. And that's a good thing. That could be a good thing for the people. I think the individual, on an average, can do more with crypto, for example. An individual can do more probably in the U.S. than, let's say, in China.
Mm-hmm.
China can ban you from ban transactions from crypto, and you're basically in that hole. You can't do anything about it. And in the U.S., there are probably, if something like that were to happen, like the Donald Trump banning TikTok
Mm-hmm.
rumor,
Mm-hmm.
not rumor, that
Yep.
happened, but I'm pretty sure that really amounted to nothing. I'm pretty sure people kept using it because there was no. It's tough to implement. It's tough to dole out punishment for using an
Yeah.
app. But either way, that's a very good point that you made about waiting on the news, because they could have said it earlier.
Right.
But I feel like they can also. It's very similar to the Tether thing that you were talking about, making the money selling it off for $1. Is really the oldest trick in the book. And I'm pretty sure in the US something like that is happening, and it's probably on a much lower scale.
With Tether, you mean?
No, with just Bitcoin mining.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that is kind of the point of mining. Like, you use electricity to mine, and maybe you use like $100 of electricity, and you
Right.
sell whatever you mine for $200. And
Hmm.
that is kind of the game. It's just that so much of it is happening in China, and I think that is kind of the other counter argument to the fact, like whether Bitcoin is actually decentralized. I don't think it is. How can it be
Ah,
when
okay,
so
fair
much
enough.
mining happens in one place? I actually believe maybe China waited on Elon to come out with whatever he said, and because
Hmm.
the news did kind of come pretty close together.
They were, I think, within a
Yep.
day.
So that might have been the turning point that China was waiting for. It's like, okay, this is
Ah.
probably when Bitcoin kind of crosses that point where it might not even go back up again, and
Hmm.
all right, we're gonna start clamping down. So
See, now, usually I would disagree with you here, but I do think they might have been waiting for, not necessarily Elon, but might have been waiting for something similar to that,
hmm
because that was a big
yep,
announcement. I think Elon said that they won't be. Is that they won't be accepting Bitcoin? Is that
yeah.
correct,
Tesla
John?
will not
Yeah,
be accepting Bitcoin as payment.
there you go. And that was probably the worst news for Bitcoin that Bitcoin has had in a long, long, long time. I can't even remember in the recent uptick. I think there was a huge uproar about it, a lot of people. I mean, that's part of my next topic. Actually, the Twitter comments
Mm,
about all of this. Oh, they're just. I don't want to say hilarious because these are people's savings
it
and
is hilarious. I
you know
mean,
their life.
no, it's
No,
sad,
I mean,
but what can you do but laugh?
it's sad. I'm not laughing, but I think that's the danger about going behind a sole person. I
Yep.
call it the cult of Elon.
Mm.
He literally swings things one way or another, and it can be very alluring to buy into it and not selling.
Yeah, but the thing is, if your stock can, if this crypto can be swung just by the force of like one person, like how valuable is it really?
Right.
Is it really just? I mean, at that point, it's just a pure meme currency that rests solely on human sentiment. Maybe that's like the value of Bitcoin. It just measures like how people are feeling. Like,
Oh, I mean, I think that's true for anything at the core of it. Even if you take, for example, Tesla stock, another Elon stock, honestly, in my opinion, Tesla is mostly propped up on Elon's
yep.
personality. Because if it was, say, Bill Gates on the helm of Tesla, I feel like it wouldn't have the trajectory that it does now. I don't think it would be as valued as it does now. I think it would have a similar trajectory because as a company, they have a great outlook on the future. They're in the forefront of the EV car
Hmm.
market, and that is going to be the future. There's no doubt about that. But the heights it has reached, I do not think that would have happened if anyone else was on in the helm.
Okay, I'll agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll transition to a part. I think this is a part where if we had listeners, and I guess it would be probably our partners slash friends, I would take their questions in this segment, and I actually kind of looked through Reddit, and this is regarding stocks in general, not necessarily crypto, John. One of the most prominent
Hmm.
questions that I see unanswered is how do I get into stocks? How do I get into investing? And I think that's a really, really, really interesting question. How would if someone came up to you, they're completely a new
Yep.
beginner, what would you tell them?
Buy high, sell low. Um,
There you have it.
yeah, like if honestly, I'm surprised there are so many YouTubers that talk about stocks, and
Yeah.
because all the good ones, they're really only saying one thing. Like, let's be honest here. All of Benzinga, like all of the stock advice you ever received, they're really only saying this one thing. Like, come on. Like, all right, this is the last thing you'll have to listen on and learn about stocks. Just buy S&P 500 or dollar cost average and hold. That is all. There is nothing else to it. Like, buy something you
Hmm.
think is gonna stick around and just hold it. If
Yeah.
things go according to plan, you'll double your money every 7 years, and that's
Hmm.
essentially it.
I think people see the Bitcoin millionaires and Tesla millionaires, for example, for what it's worth, and they want that experience. They want to have their money quadruple, grow 14 times, 15
Hmm.
times, 40 times large within days. I think that's the big dupe. It's the big scam when it comes to investing. Most of the time, it's just being patient and just not looking at it for weeks on end
Yeah,
and sort of just looking in, okay, I'll buy into, as you said, the S&Ps. Yeah, you can take a little risk with some money, but really do not put your life savings to it because for every Bitcoin millionaire, there are probably 99, there's probably 9,999 people that has lost their life savings. And that's another thing that people forget. If you want to make more money, let's say you put in $100 and something doubles, you're only getting 200 total
hmm,
back. You have to put a lot of money in to even warrant a big profit
exactly.
for the most part, which is Very scary.
Yes, and that's another reason why I don't think Bitcoin is worth going in anymore. The price is
Hmm.
40K right now, and people saying that, oh, it doubled from 20K and it can easily go double again to 80K. No, 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 no. The road from 20K to 40K is very
Hmm.
different from the road to 40K to 80K. That
I
yes,
agree.
it only gets harder the higher you go up. And I feel like at this point, most people already kind of know about Bitcoin. Like if they would have put in money, they probably would have. I don't I don't
Right.
see Bitcoin's price going up anymore. And kind of just to put it in there, I feel like by Christmas this year, it will be lower than what it is right now. Maybe even in the 20s, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So to answer the question about the stocks, I actually do have maybe some insight that in
Hmm.
addition to just like dollar cost averaging, HODL, I think something to keep in mind is not every company is born the same. When Coinbase IPO'd, when Uber IPO'd, when Lyft IPO'd, I know a lot of people were kind of clamoring to kind of think about like going in on these kind of hot tech stocks, especially Coinbase. I remember quote
Hmm.
one person I know. He said that Coin, which is the stock ticker for Coinbase, was a stock that he had not looked at stocks in a long time, but Coin had made him start looking at stocks again. Like he was thinking about getting to Coin, and in my mind, I was like, no, like Coinbase is probably the worst thing you can buy, and I feel this way about actually Airbnb as well, and Uber and Lyft. Like I would not buy,
I agree with you on
yeah,
that one
I
as
would
well.
not buy Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, or Coinbase. And I think this just comes from thinking about business. So for example, like right now, kind of blue chip stocks that I do believe in are Microsoft, Apple,
Uh, I'm with
yeah.
you.
So those 100%. And the
Yeah.
difference between companies like that and like Airbnb or Coinbase is just the amount of like competitive moat they have. And I think we kind of agree on this. Like Coinbase doesn't have a moat. Like there are so it's so easy for another company to come in and do exactly what Coinbase does. Like Coinbase doesn't have a platform, and this is the same reason why if Robinhood IPO'd, I also wouldn't buy Robinhood stock because it's so
Hmm.
easy to make a competitor. They don't really have a good grip on you to make you not want to leave. There's no ecosystem. And the same with Airbnb. Like there could easily be another Airbnb and there's not much friction in leaving. Same with Uber and Lyft. Uber and Lyft are honestly identical companies. Um,
Yeah.
so so there's not really competitive
I
advantage there. So that's why I wouldn't
yeah.
put my money into those stocks. So I think when you're choosing stocks, as long as you kind of choose companies that do have moats, like Apple, Microsoft, these are like platforms or like ecosystems, you'll be good.
Yeah. I think with Uber and Lyft, I think I'm a lot more leaning towards, yeah, I don't think they can build up to more, or if they can, I wouldn't bet on it. And by the way, we're not financial advisors at all. We're idiots.
I'm a financial
Just
advisor.
okay. He's not. New York Attorney General. We are not. Um, I do. I could see for Airbnb. I know we have friends who are pretty bullish on Airbnb. I personally am not, but I can definitely see more with Airbnb. They have the, I would say, the clout and the resources to do more,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
essentially, where if someone does come in, a competitor does come in, they can do more there, because they really got ahead. It's very similar to Tesla. Any other EV companies have a harder time competing with Tesla because they're so established in the EV
Well,
world. Uh,
well, I think Tesla is different though because there's actually
mhm.
something Tesla had to build. Airbnb is
Oh,
just a
that's true.
website.
I agree. I agree. No, no. I think the similarities don't go beyond that. Really, well, I guess the
I
similarities I was
see
trying
what
to
you mean
make is
though.
that
Like people
yeah,
already are using Airbnb. There would be yes,
exactly.
there's inertia
Like
to
if
changing.
I think when a company does that well, basically you use that word as just a substitute for, I forget, there's a term for that. Even if we're looking for a place to stay, we say, oh, we'll look for Airbnb. We may not necessarily mean we're looking for Airbnb. We're looking for hotels. We're
Mm,
looking for other places, but it becomes synonymous for looking for a place to stay. That's when you break that mainstream, essentially,
I
lexicon.
see.
you know Tesla can be almost, right now, EVs are Teslas are
Yep.
EVs. There's really nothing out there that has the same level that Tesla
Hmm.
does. And that's really where the similarities end. I totally agree with you. So I could see Airbnb surviving, and maybe they can make a lot more of it. But you're totally right. Companies like Microsoft, companies like Apple, I think Disney is kind of getting to
Yeah.
that point for me,
Yes.
where they have all these avenues that, if one fails, oh, that's okay. We're literally making profit with the nine other avenues. Long term, and I'm with you on the long term aspect of investing. It's always best to look long term. Just put your money and monitor it, but expect to be patient,
Hmm.
and it does pay off. But hey, who knows? Someone out there could be listening as a Bitcoin millionaire and laughing at us, or GameStop millionaire, for that matters. I mean, we failed on that. I failed on that. So, kudos to anyone who made a lot of money from these pump and dump stocks.
Hmm. Yes.
No shame in the game.
And that being said, I still think it's early for Dogecoin. So,
Okay.
especially because it's so cheap, I
Hmm.
think the run is kind of still beginning. There is still a lot of space for more memes. So, if you have rainy day funds, I approve of putting it into Dogecoin.
Hmm. I agree. I think Doge is. I think there are steps to, like, breaking through. Essentially, there are ceilings that you have to break
Yeah.
through, and right now, Doge has broken through a lot, and they still have a long way to go. But it may not be a bad investment for long term.
Yep.
If you have some funds that you don't mind completely losing,
Yep.
it may not be the worst decision to kind of let it sit there, because in the short term, I think it's going to go down a little
Hmm.
further. But for me, the next break is the 0.69. If it goes above zero point 0.8, zero point
Uh-huh.
0.9, I think I can believe in, okay, there's going to be another probably big dump around
Mm.
$1, and then we can see if it keeps going up. Because if it in the next 3-4 years breaks $1, breaks $5, I think that's going to keep it rolling. But it will have to be very, very long term.
Oh yeah, if it breaks $5, like
Yeah, I think that would be
yeah,
astronomical. Yeah, but either way.
I like Ethereum too.
Oh, yeah,
They
ETH, yes,
recently came out with some
absolutely.
news that they were going to do some work on Ethereum to make it
Yes,
99% more
efficient.
efficient. So
Yes, I love that. I think Ethereum, and I think we spoke. Well, we didn't speak about it just us two, but I was saying it on our group chat. Ethereum is looking
yeah,
good in terms of, it's kind of being left behind in the crypto talks, but there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes. And like you said, they're working on, there are also platforms made with Ethereum. That's correct, right, John? There's usage
yes, you can
behind it.
actually do stuff
uh
something with it, unlike Bitcoin.
exactly. Yeah, and I like this outlook of that. There's not much of a not down, there's many downfalls to it, but you can put something to
Hmm.
it. You can say, okay, there'll be uses for it in the future. And I like that. Yeah. We talked about serious stuff. I have a topic that's more, a little bit more fun, if you will. And if you remember, we did record a podcast before this, that will be referred to as the lost one, where we kind of
Play that at your
established a
wedding.
pattern. We established a pattern of talking about serious things, of course, but also following it up with some more light news, and something that I've been doing. I've gotten TikTok, So my friend, one of our friends, is a huge TikTok user. Keeps posting these
I think I
TikToks,
may know who you're
and
talking about.
oh yeah, of course. Honestly, I'm impressed by half the things he posts because the creativity, the work behind these essentially teenagers or early adults, it's
Hmm.
amazing. You can't deny it. I mean, in the beginning, there was a lot of talks about it being a Chinese spy app, which it still
Yep.
might be. We don't really know. I'm pretty sure they know exactly what a Western teen will do at this point. But going into it,
It's not very valuable. I feel like they might have already been able to guess.
I don't know, man. I think there's a lot to gain in terms of data mining. I think there's so much to gain. But my favorite things, so they have this for you page, which is just random videos that are
Yeah,
trending, I
yeah.
guess. A lot of it is really creative, really smart. A lot of it's just jokes and clearly scripted things. But there's a subset of women who are using everything to hustle. And I respect it for one thing, power to them. But my enjoyment comes from the comments of these TikToks, and it is hilarious how there are a couple comments where there's someone just so down bad that they want to be noticed more than anything, and these women will do live streams of themselves, and they're just commenting nonstop. It essentially boils down to please read my name. I just love it. I don't know. I think I that part of human nature is so fascinating to me.
Okay, I know what you need to send me after.
I don't have these things saved, obviously, but it's just. I
What?
mean,
Don't lie to me. Share the
I
goods.
do not. I do not have any of these saved. But YouTube comments are similar in that way too. Twitch, by the way, I don't know if you use Twitch at all.
Yeah.
Their front page is just now all girls in bathtub. I think a lot of people look down on it. I actually think it's the most empowering time that anyone has ever had. Anyone can do something. We couldn't do this. Us two couldn't do this. And people are just using whatever they have in their arsenal, sometimes their bodies, to basically get what they want. And that is so awesome.
Yeah. I think quote unquote like professionals are scared right now. Like, did
Uh-huh,
you see
right.
Dunkey's rap video on YouTube? It's like
If it's the recent one, I
it's the
do
recent
not.
one, and people
Okay.
were kind of so that came out I think around or it might have been the same day as JCole's new album, and it was
Okay.
like way more like poppin'. So
Okay, I have to listen to it. I heard the J. Cole one and I was underwhelmed by it, and I'm kind of a J. Cole fan.
yeah, so I feel like regular people are coming up. Like there is so much talent. Like these,
Yes,
I guess,
yes.
real stars. Like they better watch out because we're coming. Yeah,
We are right.
Dunkey's coming.
The
I'm coming for you, Anthony Pompliano.
oh god, we're gonna get a cease and desist.
I
I am
see you, you
sure.
snake oil salesman.
Oh, I do not share these opinions. I agree. I think today's Einstein is making a TikTok
Mm,
and making millions. They are not finding the next equation to solve the space time riddle. I kind of like it. I kind of
yeah.
like that. But either way, thirst traps that are out there in social media, and the people who are either commenting seriously or they're doing
Uh huh.
satirically. There's one aspect of these guys. I think the term is now simping, and then the comments under the simping, saying "You good, bro? Yo, you need help, man," which I love because that's the fellow man coming for the other fellow man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's all I got to say about that, man.
Yeah, we all sims for something.
Oh, that's a good. I like that. That could be the title of this podcast on it. Sims for
I kind
something.
of like
But I'm pretty sure it's
snake oil
taken.
salesman Anthony better, but
Okay, no, that's not gonna be anything. I may have to cut it out. I do not know. We're coming up to an hour.
yeah, this was great.
Yeah, there were a lot of other topics, which is awesome that we covered, that we didn't run out. Because my initial fear going into this was I wouldn't have enough things to sort of throw at you,
No,
and I
no,
was,
I feel like I didn't even get your opinions on it. Like it was a very
oh,
one-sided thing.
that's
So yeah,
I think that's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. One, I didn't have as strong opinions on it, and two, I think you're way more informed about this than I was. So please don't apologize. That's okay.
yeah, but I feel like we could just talk forever about like anything. We're super opinionated. Like I'm very opinionated on Anthony
I
Pompliano.
am not.
Um,
Okay, okay. We have to. I have to take out half of, like, 90% of the mentions. I do not have enough fun facts to cover all those cuts.
yeah, man, I could just keep it going. I have a list. I'll just keep it going. But that
Oh
could be for next
God.
one.
Yes, yeah. I think we can save a lot of things for the next one. And we're getting off at the perfect time because Lakers and Golden State Warriors are about to start. Steph versus LeBron.
Oh, LeBron's
So
back.
that
The
yeah,
king.
LeBron's back. Yes, King James is back. There's a play-in tournament. It's just a
Yeah,
money grab, but whatever.
I guess he
Let's
got his
enjoy
juice
it.
today.
He got his juice today. What? But either way. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you, John.
All right, man.
Um Hopefully this was worth the listen, and hopefully people will be, I don't think anyone's going to listen to this, let's be honest. But if there is a human ear, a human set of ears listening to this,
Or alien set
thank
of
you.
ears.
Or aliens. Honestly, I think this is going to be discovered like 10 years down the line, when you become famous for indecent exposure or something like that. And then someone's like, oh, this the same guy? Oh, let me listen to his ramblings. I think that's how, and if you did
Yeah,
listen, thank you. Hopefully you continue on.
can't contain the truth. It always comes out.
Okay, I love it. That's where we're ending it. That's perfect. Yes, the truth always comes out. If you have listened this far, thank you for listening. And tune in next time, where I review Dunkey's new rap and John settles an age-old debate. Is cereal a soup? Goodbye.